Yeah. DT. Before this, what did you have? Tax. Okay, every day. Okay, okay. Okay. Carry Lakshay. My favorite, it seems. Yeah, yeah. My favorite, but definitely not for the subject. Yeah, but in the way that at least I cleared. That way is maybe yes. But apart from that, to no. Yeah. Oh, next week, Somu done. Must. Oh, this week audit done. Next week tax done. Everything is getting done for you, it seems. Yeah. Only eco and accounts left. Oh. लक्ष्य सेकंड नहीं पहला ही चाहिए. Yeah. Okay then. Listen. Oi. No, I don't know eco mad. In fact, I have not studied eco after TY BCom ever. Yeah. I don't know in MCom it was there or not. Maybe it was there. I don't even remember. Yeah. Anyways, listen. Oi. As far as asset SA 250 is concerned, it is on consideration of laws and regulations in an audit of financial statements. Firstly, it is on this part, laws and regulations. Okay. Now, my simple question to you, can I say every company, they will prepare the financial statements? Those financial statements has to be prepared as per the applicable financial reporting framework. It means they will have to follow certain statutory requirements. It means they will have to follow certain laws and regulations. To be specific, I hope realize if at all it's a company, they will have to follow the laws and regulations. I hope of the Companies Act 2013. Can I say if it is nothing but a banking company, you have already started? Correct. Then it is nothing but the Banking Regulations Act 1949. So can I say laws and regulations always have to be followed whenever the financial statements are prepared? Agreed? Now, doubt. Who will follow? Management. Correct. Auditor will not follow. See, this is where you make a mistake. Eventually, I hope this was asked in exam, correct, incorrect, 2 marks question. The duty or the responsibility to comply with the laws and regulations is of the auditor. False. It is not of the auditor. It is of the management and the top level management. That is TCWG. So can I say laws and regulations are to be complied? What do you mean by complied? Followed. Correct. And it is the responsibility of whom to follow? Can I say management and TCWG? If you ask me what is the most important part of this standard, it's gone. This is the most important part. Up till now on SA 250, they have asked this only. They have not asked anything else. That does not mean we are not going to learn everything else. We are, but ultimately I'm telling you whatever is most relevant. So most relevant, what you have to remember is the laws and regulations have to be complied is a responsibility of the auditor. Oh, sorry. It is only of the management. Oh, sorry. It is only of the TCWG. Sorry. It is of both management and TCWG. Oh yeah. All cool. Acha. Now see, what is the objective of this particular standard? Very simple. It is again to obtain, say E or say yeah, sufficient appropriate audit evidence regarding laws and regulations, but two of them. One, which have a direct effect on the financial statements. Secondly, they do not have a direct effect on the financial statements, but their non-compliance will have an impact on the financial statements. Repeating, the objective of the auditor is basically to obtain say regarding two things. One, the laws and regulations which have a direct effect on the financial statements. And secondly, which do not have a direct effect on the financial statements, but their non-compliance will have an impact on the financial statements. Let us take simple examples to understand. For a simple example, if the company is making profit, then can I say obviously they will have to make provision for tax. Then can I say they will have to pay tax. But can I say then Income Tax Act is applicable? Then can I say income tax will have a direct effect on the financial statements? Agreed? Okay. Now, supposing if I tell you, say, company is employing few minors as laborers. Company is employing few minors as laborers. Now, ultimately, can I say this is child labor? Can I say if it is child labor, then ultimately I hope realize if it comes into light, then company will have to pay penalty for having those minors as laborers. Now, my simple question, obviously in law we have that child labor is not allowed. But can I say if the company does that, then ultimately can I say it is non-compliance? Then can I say they will have to pay penalty? Then can I say it will have an impact on the financial statements because you'll have to pay the penalty? Now use common sense. Is that Child Labor Act applicable to the company? No. But if they don't comply, then will that non-compliance become applicable? Yes. Then it will have an impact on the financial statements. Then it will have in P&L debit to penalty paid for nothing but child labor. You understand what I'm telling? So basically two things. One, you will have to obtain SEI regarding, firstly, the laws and regulations which have a direct impact on the financial statements. Secondly, they do not have a direct impact, but their non-compliance will have an impact on the financial statements. And whenever the auditor sees non-compliance, what do you mean by non-compliance? Not followed. Exactly. Who may not follow? Management, TCWG. Then ultimately, can I say auditor will have to respond? Supposing if I see non-compliance, non-compliance, then I will sit down like this. No. Can I say I will take some steps? Who is not complying? Management. So obviously I will tell no. Management, batao. Why are you not complying with the laws and regulations? So can I say I will do inquiry? You may not ask this nicely because obviously, but you'll have to ask no. That management, batao. Acha, if they don't give me proper answers, then I will do PAP. Come on, yeah. By doing PAP, where will I go? Correct. TCWG. Can I say then impact ultimately will be on the auditor's opinion? It means when you see non-compliance, will the auditor respond? Then see. The second objective is to respond to non-compliance. By the way, we are talking about non-compliance of laws and regulations. We are not talking about non-compliance in the personal conduct. For a simple example, supposing I ask to the management anything, management, batao. If they refuse, that is not non-compliance. Non-compliance is that they are not complying with the laws and regulations. They are personal misconduct, anything which happens, that is not non-compliance. We are here focused only on the laws and regulations. Come on here. Is this first slide okay first? Wait. Firstly, you tell me that the laws and regulations are to be complied is a responsibility of whom? Management and TCWG. Then what is the objective of the auditor? To obtain SEI regarding laws and regulations. 2. 1. Which have a direct impact on the financial statements. Acha. Secondly, they do not have a direct impact on the financial statements, but their non-compliance will have an impact on the financial statements. Simple example, child labor. On the other hand, I hope realize second is to respond to non-compliance. So if at all there is non-compliance, by the way, who will not comply? Management, TCWG. Then can I say I as an auditor will have to respond? What will be my responses? That also is given in SA 250. Responses major, you know, yeah. Talk to the management, do PAP, go to TCWG. Impact will be on the auditor's opinion. In fact, I told you this when I did SA 505. That, you know, in SA 505 external confirmation, management was refusing the auditors to allow to send confirmation. Then I told you the steps. I told you those steps are standard in every standard. I hope it is only the matter keeps on differing. But apart from that, the steps are similar. Exactly. Now, what are the auditor's procedures? Listen, when you talk about nothing but laws and regulations, there are certain procedures to be followed by auditor. Firstly, obtain an understanding of the laws and regulations which are applicable. For a simple example, for me to check whether the laws and regulations are followed or not, I should have some understanding of those laws and regulations. No, whether Schedule 3 of the Companies Act is followed or not, whether Schedule 3 of the Banking Regulations Act is followed or not, Section 29, by which ultimately they make the financial statements. So ultimately, first I should obtain an understanding of the laws and regulations which are applicable to the organization. Secondly, I will have to check whether the entity is actually complying with the laws and regulations. So ultimately, I will have laws and regulations and I will have the actual what the company has done. Then ultimately, if at all they match, it means they are complying. If they don't match, non-compliance. Thereafter, how will you basically check? You'll ask the management only, no? That management, batao. Are you following the laws and regulations? Then please show. So ultimately, can I say you will have to do inquiry with the management? Acha. Sometimes what happens is there is a licensing authority. Now, what do you mean by licensing authority? Licensing authority is any authority which issues license for the conduct of business. Simple examples. If I'm into telecom business, I should get a telecom license from TRAI. If I'm into aviation business, I should get nothing but aviation license from DGCA. So ultimately, can I say I should have licenses in order to do my business? Now, sometimes what happens is if that particular company is not complying with the laws and regulations, then that particular licensing authority, DGCA or TRAI, they issue a notice to that company that you are not following the laws and regulations, in such a case, we will nothing but cancel your license. Now I hope realize if such notice comes, who is giving to whom? Correct. The licensing authority is giving to the company and say you are the auditor of that company. Now suddenly when you are checking the books of accounts and other information, you get such a communication, you get such a notice. Oh, licensing authority has already issued a notice that you are not following laws and regulations. So can I say, obviously, once you get this information, you come to know that they are not following laws and regulations. So if there is a communication which happens between whom and whom, correct, the company and the licensing authority, that also is indicative that the company is not following laws and regulations. Then say, inspect correspondence. What do you mean by correspondence? Communication, correct. ऐसा कैसे पता तेरे को? Correct. So it is nothing but correspondence or communication with which authority? Licensing authority. Thereafter, whenever you are checking the financial statements, can I say you should have an attitude? Come on, yeah, that you already have. The only difference is you should have an attitude of professional skepticism, which we had done the last time that we had met. Correct. Can I say you should have a which mind, Ray? Huh? Empty. No. Then questioning mind. Exactly. Empty. Oh, so true. Correct. Can I say questioning mind? It means you should remain alert. Array, all this is in theory. What remain alert? It means ultimately I am doing like a watchman or what the job. So ultimately, you just have to write that you have to remain alert. And you have to read nothing but the minutes. Inquire with the company's legal counsel. A legal counsel we have heard before. Correct. If you remember, we had done SA 501, which was on three things: inventory, litigation and claims, and segment information. In that litigation and claims, there was in-house legal counsel. If you remember company's lawyer, I had given you one example of that in movies. There are there, no, that ultimately, go talk to my lawyer. Then ultimately my lawyer is what lawyer? In-house legal counsel. So ultimately communicate with in-house legal counsel. In-house legal counsel, in-house legal counsel, batao. Is there any case going on with the company or not? If there is a case, obviously it may indicate there are no laws and regulations followed. And lastly, best, obtain a what? Written representation from the management. That management give in writing to me that you have followed all the laws and regulations whichever are there and I'm not responsible for them. Give me in writing, so that ultimately you have a piece of documentation. By the way, if I just obtain a written representation, is it okay? I will not check all this. Is it okay? No. I hope as written representation is a supporting evidence. Exactly. I hope realize it is like a supporting role. It is not the main. It cannot substitute verification. All cool? So come on, what are the auditor's procedures? Tell ya. Correct. Obtain an understanding of the laws and regulations applicable to the company. Only then you will know whether ultimately it is followed or not. Munna. Achha, next. Check whether ultimately whether the entity is complying with the laws and regulations or not. Inquire with the management. Management, batao. Thereafter, ultimately check the communication or the correspondence with the licensing authority, if any. Thereafter, remain alert, like that. And ultimately, I hope I read the minutes. Correct. So that you people come to know whether ultimately if there is any case going on, then ultimately you will come to know whether laws and regulations are followed or not. And lastly, obtain a written representation from the management as per SA 580. All cools? Acha. What if you see non-compliance? Then what will be the steps? Inquire with the management. Perform alternate audit procedures in order to get say. So you'll go to TCWG. And finally, the impact will be on the auditor's opinion. Okay. So can I say at the end, impact will go on reporting only? Okay, then see, reporting. So reporting to the non-compliance, who you will have to report to? Obviously, first you'll have to report to TCWG. That hey, not complying, no? Take a report from me. Acha. Secondly, you will have to report this in auditor's report, that ultimately the company is not complying with the laws and regulations. Acha. And lastly, to the regulatory and enforcement authority. Now, when I say regulatory and enforcement authority, simple example, can I say SEBI? Correct. If you are auditor of a bank, can I say RBI? Come on here. If at all, ultimately, if you are auditor of a telecom company, then TRAI. If you are auditor of Jet Airways like that, then ultimately I hope realize DGCA. So ultimately I hope realize it depends upon whosoever is a regulatory authority. All cool? Wait, tell me. Firstly, what is SA 250 on? Correct. Consideration of laws and regulations in the audit of financial statements. Who has to comply? Management only. हाँ तो वो कितनी बार I told management and TCWG, management and TCWG, but you people stop at management only. You have some problem. Remember one thing, whenever there are standards on auditing now, management is never alone. Management is married. Single is gone. There is also a together, no? So ultimately management always comes with TCWG. Single illa. Management TCWG. Management TCWG is implied. Try writing in the exam. No, implied. You will come to know how implied it is. हाँ हाँ तभी implied नहीं होगा ना. वही तो. चला जा. Tell me. ओए ओए ओए. What is the objective? Objective is two things: to obtain CE regarding laws and regulations. Two things: one which have a direct impact on the financial statements. Secondly, which do not have a direct effect, but their non-compliance will have a direct impact. Simple example. So ultimately, I am using you, child labor. Then ultimately, can I say exactly? Hey, yeah, articles are like child labor only. Yeah, that nobody complains. Yeah, rude. Yeah, they are. Articles are always allowed. Yeah, I know. Huh. 2000, 3000. It seems. I know, babe. Thereafter, ultimately, to respond to the non-compliance, I mean, you will get decent money. I think you will get more than 7,000. I feel. I feel. Thereafter, I mean, for you, it may be 500 also, but unfortunately, there are minimum amounts which are set. Yeah, I don't remember the minimum amounts, but at that our time, it was there. Minimum amount should be 500, like that. Now, so obviously, it has increased. It depends upon the area also where it is. Metro cities, non-metro cities, like that. It depends on that also. Yeah. In fact, audit fees also depends on where actually you are placed. If it's a metro city, audit fees minimum is X amount. If it's a non-metro city, audit fees is Y amount. Where you will learn all this? CA final. Yeah. If and when you reach there. Yeah, I did not want to tell, but then yeah, if you are only so confident about it, so fair enough. I got $3,000. Yeah. Only. Now listen. Oi. Audit procedures ultimately obtain an understanding of the laws and regulations. Secondly, check whether the company is complying with the laws and regulations and how it is complying. Inquire with the management. Thereafter, inspect. Correct. Correspondence, that is communication with the licensing authority. Remain alert to nothing but check if there is any non-compliance which is happening. And lastly, read the minutes if any, with nothing but entities, legal counsel. Legal counsel, lawyer. On the other hand, obtain a written representation from the management. By the way, non-compliance also includes a personal misconduct of the management, no? Supposing management ultimately and management we enter into a spat, then ultimately I hope that is also non-compliance. No, you're not complying. No, I hope it is only with respect to laws and regu. And lastly, reporting to three people. One, report to the TCWG. Secondly, report in your auditor's report, tell to the shareholders, and lastly to the regulatory or enforcement authority, if any. All cools? Come on, knock it off. Copy. Then we'll do the markings. है ना, simple ना यार. Why ना? Some are like, oh, audit fees differs from this and this. Then tell us what is X and what is Y. It seems. You find out. No, you know too much maths. No, find the value of X and Y then. Yeah, yeah. Huh. Yeah, population wise, more than 3 lakhs it was last time. If there is a city which is 3 lakhs or greater, etc., etc. Oh, less than 20 lakhs है क्या? Oh, तो बढ़ गया होगा ना in India. तो I mean 3 lakhs to 20 lakhs. I mean how many days? 2 days it seems. Oh, 20 lakh is 2,000 minimum. And how much was less than 20 lakhs? 1,500 minimum. Okay. ऋषभ डनिया मतलब बस चालू हो गया ये. अभी बंद होने का टाइम इज कमिंग नाउ. एग्जैक्टली रे. उसके बाद who will irritate you like this? You tell me. After day after tomorrow, who is going to irritate you like this? In fact, even I was asking that question to myself for you. Yeah, and I got answer nobody. वो घर पे तो डेफिनेट कमी नहीं है बॉस. Parents, oh definitely. Some are like, yeah, we are parents, it seems. They are there to irritate us, it seems. So true. Yeah, I miss classes, going out. Yeah, I know. Last time I told that joke of Copicino, you unnecessarily made fun of me. It was not that bad. Huh? I know. Because that is okay, Copicino. She told me to make the same coffee, so it was Copicino. Acha, acha. Once I ordered a potato dish in a restaurant, and that potato was very hot. Why? Because obviously it has to be hot. No, that way is no, no, yeah, no. It was hot potato. It seems. No. Because the potato had fever. Aloo bukhara is what I ordered. It was nice, yeah. Aloo bukhara. Afra अच्छा था यार. So rude, yeah. Aloo bukhara was. She also didn't love. अरे aloo bukhara is one dish, yeah. हाँ ना. So it had fever, so it was hot, yeah. Aloo bukhara no. क्या यार. Rude, yeah, you are. Someone like rest in peace myself, it seems. It's not that bad, yeah. Somo, it was nice, yeah. Someone like by listening this, we will get fewer, it seems. No. Danya. Okay. Come on, finish. क्या यार, she also didn't love, मतलब हद हो गया यार. No, I am not telling anything further. हाँ. ना मस्त था आलू बुखारा. क्या बोलते हैं वंश, बता ना. देखी ना. क्या कॉल होता है. मतलब बस मेरे ही सुना तो सबको, एंड अल्टीमेटली दे डोंट डू, एंड यू बिकम जजमेंटल अबाउट माय जोक. हाँ. दैट्स सो रूड. या. Somu done. The first one always to finish. Obviously, he is a screenshot master. Yeah, he is a union leader of the batch. So, River Behariti was nice, yeah. So, Aloo Bukhara also was nice, yeah. It had fever, it was hot. देखना मोदी क्या है. Huh. Dhanesh, tell you what it is. Jackie Chan was also nice. Chan la ehsaas. Horrible. Frog was also main duck. Yeah. ए ऐसा नहीं है बे. Come on, done this one. Chalo fast. Chaitra is the only one who's that fast. See, Surana. What is she? Danya. Horrible. Tell better than my book. वेदी अच्छा था. क्या यार सुराना सो रूड. बस ऐसे ही बन जाते हैं. दानिया. ठीक है. Towards the end I'll do that. Yeah, this essay is thanks for coming. But we'll do the markings now. Come to the textbook, please. Textbook, you'll have to come behind to the bare standards on auditing which are there. Essay 250, consideration of laws and regulations in an audit of FS. Page number 479, as per some assumed to be reliable sources. Yeah, like for the entire batch, it has remained assumed only. It has never materialized. Okay. Now, just go where I take you, okay? Don't go here and there. Don't roam about. Come here. Objective. First, it is to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence regarding compliance with the provisions of laws and regulations recognized to have a direct effect on the determination of material amounts in the financial statements. Thereafter, secondly, again it is to obtain say regarding compliance with the provisions of laws and regulations recognized but to have an indirect effect. If it is direct, again cancel and write down indirect. Indirect effect in the financial statements. But they are non-compliance has an impact on the FS. Page number 479. Yeah. What, you have just woken up or what? Thereafter, second part is to respond appropriately to non-compliance or suspected non-compliance. Suspected is if you people feel something wrong like that, that is suspected. Now you have to be alert with the laws and regulations. Now, what is non-compliance here? Non-compliance is basically an act of omission or commission by the entity, either intentional or unintentional, which are contrary to the prevailing laws. What do you mean by contrary? Opposite. It means what you have to follow, you have not done that. You have done completely opposite. It includes personal misconduct also, no? No. Achha. Then non-compliance does not include personal misconduct that is unrelated to the business activities of the entity by TCWG, management, or employees. Danya. Okay, come down. Risk assessment procedure we have already done, chapter 4. Now come here. What are the auditor's procedures? Very simple. It is to obtain the understanding of the laws and regulations that directly determine the financial statements. Secondly, inquire how the management is following the laws and regulations. How will you inquire? You have to ask them only, no? Whatever are the laws and regulations which are applicable to you, give that information, and whether you are following or not, give that information. So most of the information will come from the management. Exactly. Has to be like that only in real life also. Dania. Thereafter, see here, the auditor shall obtain nothing but say regarding the compliance with the provisions of those laws and regulations generally recognized to have a direct effect. So he will obtain say. Secondly, he will also obtain say regarding what? Some other laws and regulations which do not have a direct effect. Correct. Now, next what you do is inquire the management and TCWG whether the entity is in compliance with such laws and regulations. For that, what do? You inspect correspondence, that is communication, with any licensing or regulatory authorities. During the audit, the auditor shall remain alert, that is, be professionally skeptical to the possibility that other audit procedures applied may bring instances of non-compliance or suspected non-compliance with the laws and regulations. How you may know that there may be non-compliance? I told you now, you read minutes. Ultimately, I hyperlize thereafter you talk to the in-house legal counsel. Exactly. Then ultimately see inquiring of the management, in-house legal counsel or external counsel. Thereafter performing substantive test of controls transactions. Lastly, the auditor shall request the management and where appropriate TCWG to provide written representation that all the known instances of non-compliance or suspected non-compliance with the laws and regulations and whose effects should be considered have been disclosed to the auditor. It means they are not hiding anything. Thereafter, audit procedures when non-compliance is identified. So if you identify there is non-compliance or suspect there is non-compliance, what should you do? Can I say you should talk to the management, perform alternate audit procedures, talk to TCWG, impact will be on the auditor's opinion. Okay. Then if the auditor becomes aware of information concerning an instance of non-compliance or suspected non-compliance with the laws and regulations, the auditor shall firstly obtain an understanding of the nature of the act and circumstance which has occurred. Means which law and regulation is not followed, which clause is particularly not followed. That you have to obtain an understanding for. Next, further information to evaluate possible effect on the financial statements. Now, possible effects, either it can be non-compliance can be pervasive or it can not be pervasive. If it is material and pervasive, adverse. If it is material but not pervasive, then you will have to know the impact. No, you will have to judge whether the impact is pervasive or not. See, then auditor shall discuss the matter with the management and TCWG. If the management or TCWG do not provide sufficient information, then obviously you'll have to do PAP, no? Then in PAP, what can you do? Then the auditor shall consider the need of obtaining legal advice. When I say legal advice, expert help. Correct. If sufficient information about suspected non-compliance cannot be obtained, use common sense. You don't have say, obtained say, no. Then ultimately what will you do? Which type of opinion? Correct. Either disclaimer or qualified. Depends upon whether that possible effect of undetected misstatement is material and pervasive or material but not pervasive. If it is material and pervasive, disclaimer. If it is material but not pervasive, qualified. Perfect. Then see, then the auditor shall evaluate the effect of lack of sufficient appropriate audit evidence on the auditor's opinion. And lastly, the auditor shall evaluate implications of non-compliance on the other aspects of audit. Means basically including auditor's risk assessment. Supposing if I see that they are non-complying, then obviously my risk assessment, what will it be? The risk of material misstatement is low or high? High. Then obviously auditor's procedures also should be high. Lastly, reporting of identified or suspected non-compliance. I told you reporting to whom. Correct. One, TCWG. This is one. Secondly, in the auditor's report. Correct. This is two. And thirdly, to whom? Correct. The regulatory. Correct. So regulatory and enforcement authorities. Come on, yeah, manageable. Read. You have to communicate the same things only everywhere. Only read first term, TCWG wala. Read? Acha. Now, can I say if at all there is any non-compliance which is identified or suspected, then ultimately the auditor should report it to the TCWG, bring it to their attention. Thereafter, ultimately, if at all auditor suspects that TCWG themselves are involved in that non-compliance, then he should talk to the further higher authority, if any. But if there is no further higher authority, then ultimately in such a scenario, auditor should then obtain the need for legal advice. Then he should ask basically the expert that what is to be done in this situation. You understood what I told? Okay. Now read the next one, auditor's report. Only read till here. Huh? Till here. From here till here. Hmm. Can I say non-compliance has a material effect on the financial statements and they are not reflected properly in the financial statements? What will you do? It has a material effect. You already have information. Correct. You will have to decide whether it is pervasive or not. But they have not told anything about pervasive. Then what or what is possible? Correct. If it was pervasive, adverse. If it was not pervasive, qualified. So basically, adverse or qualified is possible, no? Then see, in such a scenario, he should modify as per 705 and he should express a qualified or adverse opinion. See? Manageable, yeah. Okay. Thereafter, what you do is read from here. Achha, you know what is precluded? Prevented, stopped. Okay. You read from there till here. Come on. Can I say auditor has information? No. It is because he is stopped by the management. No, prevented. If he is prevented by the management, will he get say? No. If he does not get say, will he be in a position to give an opinion properly? No. Then can I say obtained or say not obtained? Say not obtained. Then what will you check? The possible effects of undetected misstatements. Correct. Either material and pervasive or material but not pervasive. Material and pervasive. Disclaimer. Material but not pervasive. Qualified. Then it should be disclaimer or qualified. No. Then check. The auditor shall express a qualified opinion or a disclaimer of opinion on the basis of the limitation. Manageable. Trust me, if you know auditor's report, you will know. But you should know that chart. Yeah. That's say obtain, say not obtain. Practice kiya na. I told ya, practice 5 times ya. Yeah, yeah. So rude. I told you do it in rough also. Obviously for you it means fair only, but still, yeah, you should have done no. Yeah, yeah. Thoda thoda kiya it seems. Have a look. Next. Lastly, compliance to the regulatory or enforcement authority. If the auditor identifies or suspects non-compliance with laws and regulations, he shall determine whether the auditor has a responsibility to report the identified or suspected non-compliance to the parties outside the entity. Examples I've already given to you, SEBI, DGCA, etc. After that, there is nothing. Finished. So basically, I hope it lies. When you talk about SA 250, now three things so you should know. One, this part, that what is the objective. Secondly, this part was more important. This one, laws and regulations to be complied is a duty of the management and TCWG. That you don't forget. Apart from that, audit procedures, which are very simple. And lastly, reporting to three, TCWG, auditor's report, and enforcement authority and regulatory. All cool? Okay.